and relate to the part of the temperatures being cold. Today was cool, and it looks like we're on more of the upswing of the temperatures. But my brother and I, this has probably been, I think, 92, but it was 93 snowmobiles. They were Yamaha VMAX 600s, and we decided to go snowmobiling. Now, there's a difference between a want and a need, but, 30-some years ago, it was a want, but we treated it like we needed it. Things have changed full circle, but we were in the process of going snowmobiling, and I got his house at 7:30, which was in town, and then we were going to go snowmobiling, which we did, but it was cold. And we know what the temperatures were, 2 weeks ago? You had, 33 below? I guess that was cold. Well, we decided to go sledding at 16 below. And these were the only company that made the sled, and Roger might understand or know, but they actually had liquid-cooled carburetors. When it was 32 or above, you'd shut the coolant off so the carbs would just run on the engine temperature, let's say. And then when it got cold, like 16 below or below freezing, you turn the coolant lever on and it keep the carbs cool. So we had no problems with the machines. So we proceeded to leave, and we left and went to a restaurant on 37. Didn't see anybody else, which was good because it's so cold. We came back. We took a pit stop and break, and to let you know how cold it is, because a couple weeks ago we knew how cold it was. When you grab a grip on the handlebar, you glove your hands like this. So we had 3 to 4 inch icicles hanging off the handlebars because we had heated grips and thumb warmers. We had 2 pairs of coveralls on. I had 2 face masks on. He had a thin balaclava on, and I'll explain what happened there. But we did pray before we went, and God honored what he said he would do, but we were just foolish back then, and today it was just plain stupid to be out there. So we got, halfway back, and then, you got to stop and take a pit stop, and, granted, your glove is shaped like this. So when you put the glove on, when you take it off, it's pretty much normal. And then, the leather glove's kind of shaped like that, and then you put them on the sled and, chit-chat, do whatever. And then when you put your glove back on, because the gloves froze, so you had to put your hand up, kind of walk it into the glove. And that's cold, and it's definitely not the wisest thing that we did. But we did get home safe and sound, and we got home. I had to go to work at 5, so it was 4:30, and it didn't warm up, Jim. It was 20 below zero. So if I had to do it again, since we were like just a couple weeks ago, that would be a no. But I'm going to reiterate the same old Hebrew 13:8. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He answered our prayer and did what he said he would do for a hedge of protection. Would I do that now? No, I would say in the house and keep the stove going, where it's like maybe 68, 69, 70, however you got it set at. But we thank God for his protection, for sure. And now getting into the message, just really nothing to do with that. But I guess my other half said something about, I have a title. So it's like, Jesus on the inside, working on the outside. Him on the inside is the easy part, right? What is it distance for pastors from here to here? It's like 18 inches. And like I said earlier, we can be good in one area, and another area, 10 seconds later, might have an issue that we're working on or what have you. I'll read this part here. And this here, you're saved. How John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, for whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life." So we have him in us. He's already there. We're made in the image of God and have the mind of Christ. It's simple, or very simple, hard, and very hard, which we're learning as we go. My first scripture here is Galatians 2:20, and I have my phone on a lock system, so I got to get to that. It says, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me, and the life I now live is in the flesh. I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. And then we'll go to 1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? Now, when you get in the heat of the moment, if we could just get that in our head, we know that's here. But up here, sometimes the flesh or the carnal man just takes over. And, I don't want to say it. When you say stuff, you feel better, but that's not the way you should really do it, And another one is Romans 8:11. If the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, which he does, he who has raised Christ from the dead will also give life to the mortal bodies through his Spirit who dwells in you or us. Back to the head and the soul, 18 inches. If we could get this up here in everything that we deal with, we wouldn't have arguments or ranting and raving and what have you. It doesn't matter if you're married or not, work persons, whatever. As I said earlier about Skidoo had a thing, I didn't say, but it's not just how fast you ride, it's how you go fast. Well, we'll stick on the loud bit. It's not just how loud you are, it's how you are loud. Like I mentioned earlier about even if it's a normal talking pace, it's your pitch and tone can fire up the other half or whoever you're talking to. Are you smiling? So we all, at least I know I got to work on it, and I'm sure probably anybody that's in a relationship or whatever, we all have our special moments where we fall off the truck and bump our heads. Another one is John 15:4. Get this to clear. Abide in me, and I abide in you. A branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. Now, Pastor talked about the branches and the trees and stuff. Well, I'm going to do a little thing on buckwheat, because I have grown buckwheat before. Buckwheat is a fast-growing plant. It's actually probably, I don't want to say it's almost as fast as a weed, but next to it. And when you plant buckwheat, it'll actually, before the weeds come up, if you can get it established, it'll actually snuff out the weeds. It won't kill them, because the seed won't germinate to come up, but it's just the covering that it has over the ground where the weeds can't come up. Well, when you plant buckwheat, you got to fertilize it. You got the stems, the leaves, and the flowers, and the seed. Well, the seed is actually in a hull or a hull that you have to, they call it degrowing, and the groat is what's in the seed, which is kind of like, what else? Oats, you got to degrow or take the hull off oats. Wheat is already, when you combine it, it comes off and it's ready to go, and rye. But this here is, when you plant it, it's a process, just like a tree and the branch and the limbs. You got the roots, the stem comes up, the leaves come out, and they flower. And that's where your seed comes from. And usually there's a time when the flower is out, it sets out a special aroma. I won't say what it reminds you of, but you can ask me later and I can tell you. It's kind of an unpleasant smell, but pleasant at the same time. The reason why I want to say with the, just for an example, the way buckwheat grows, it'll actually choke out the weeds. And just like Christ in us can choke out the garbage that we have in our heads that sometimes is tough to get rid of. This is another story too with my boss when I worked at work, and I did say a little bit last year about this here, about the way he was, because he was trying to move up the totem pole to move on, and he'd tell you one thing, but it really wasn't true, falsifying. I didn't really say nothing and confront him personally because it was just the way it was. But when I got home, when I walked the dog, like I said last year, you'd have a lot of day of reflection of rewinding the tape and just venting outside. Of course, the dog's looking at you wondering, well, what did I do wrong? Well, the dog didn't do nothing wrong. You're just venting. Was that wrong? Could I have done better? Oh, definitely. But there's some issues. As time went on, we improved. And, we talk and get along good now and talk about just everyday living stuff when I see him, because I go up once in a while at fairs and whoever's there, chit-chat with them for a little bit and head on back home and do what I do. But there are things that we do each and every day that we can improve better, and the person in the red sweater could probably verify that for sure. And this is another one. I did these scriptures because he's in here working on this part, but I bought a brand new snowblower, Aaron's, at Lakeside Motorsports, and I think it was 17. Had it out in the pole barn. It's brand new. Thought, well, I'll just start it up. Turn it on, turn the gas on, prime it 5 times, start it up. Well, you grab the pull start. It's got electric start, but I didn't have a cord. It was easier just to pull on it. 110 electric start. So I pull on it. One pull. Fat-headed handle brakes. It's like it's brand new. So I bought at an auction, a Toro, and it was probably 30 years old when I bought it. So I thought, well, backup plan. So I go and take the one off that, put that on there, got it started. Everything's cool, and we use it up north and everything. Most of the time I usually use the 110, plug it in, so you don't have that issue, because if the thing stops, if you're out in the bush, you want to have a way to start it, because 110 you just can't plug into a tree to get it started. It'd be nice if you could, but you can't. So, what was it? This year, and could I have done better in the situation? Oh, for sure, yeah. I didn't throw things or have let's say I had a unique time, we'll say, with it. Then 3 years ago, I went to pull on it. Well, the rope that goes on into the flywheel part had pulled out. I go, nice. So here you got the handle and the rope sitting there. Well, I thought, well, this is from the factory. It's only 3 foot long, so I'll duplicate the length. Well, 3 foot, when you pull, isn't that far. And you're actually pulling it, but you're bottoming out, and it just pulls it out. So I knew that. So a couple weeks ago, I thought, well, I'll just start it to see if it's working. Well, guess what? It pulled out. And when you pull it, you got to use your gut here. So when you pull it, you're not going too far, because you'll just pull it out again. So I went like this, but apparently I didn't have right where it should have been. And it pulled out again. I go, well, I didn't lose control, so I figured I improved a little bit over time by far, but it really needs probably 6 foot of cord. So when you pull on it, you want to have a wrap around at least once probably, because I thought, but you live and learn, and we try to strive to be better each day. And Marla was, I don't know, it was cold, The garage is warmer, but, 2 above is better than 10 below, but still your fingers get stiff. But did manage to get through that. I did say last year a little bit about when I was building the pole barn in 2019, I had a Makita drill. Putting the roof screws in the pole barn. on the roof, and it was acting up. So, of course, that was a long time ago, 2019. Come a long ways for being patient or whatever, but had some issues with the battery. Well, for some reason, the battery grew wings and it was flying through the air. Well, we won't get into that, but went and picked it up, and, it worked. Now, God still does honor, even when we have our special moments. I still have the drill to this day. It still works, but it's, I think, a 9.6, so it's kind of old school, so that just stays in the cubby hole, but red and yellow are my favorite colors now. Jim probably understands what I'm saying. And then let me read another scripture here too, on 2 Timothy 1 through 7, or not 1 through 7, but 1 and 7. For God gave us the Spirit not to fear, but of power, of love, and self-control. Wow. That's a good one. No, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think we had some water issues with the furnace, having some issues. We have, not on all of them, but the majority of them. I think we have pans on the bottom because, they're up above, so they condensate. So they got to send the water down the condensate line down the drain. Well, when it's cold, stuff freezes. We have sensors in the pan that are supposed to shut the unit off if there's water in the pan. But apparently, if there's water in the pan that's froze, it can't maybe sense that. I'm not for sure. Bill might got some information on that. So it's dripping out of the light down onto the floor. So we got that taken care of. And then after church, we went and got the parts. And how many love plumbing? Plumbing? Like to do plumbing at home? Okay, it's okay. How many times do you usually have to go to the store to get your job completed? Average? Okay, Kay, you might be a little bit more than normal, but I understand. So there's more times you go there. Well, we knew what we needed. We had parts of the parts, but we needed 2 sticks of pipe because it ripped down the middle. And then it froze down further where it goes down the drain where there's a piece of steel reducer, which probably helped contribute it to get colder quicker. So before I knew that, we got the 2 sticks to replace what was broke, and that was fine. But then, of course, when we found where the reducers reduced down, there's different parts and stuff we didn't have. So back to Menards. But we did it in 2 times. It was better than 3 times. If it didn't lose her cool or get mad or frustrated, I think Marla got pizza. Doug and Chris went and got something to eat. And then I have 2 dogs. And I missed the opportunity to succeed on him taking care of his business before he come to church because he had to shovel the sidewalk. Well, here it is, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there. So Marla and Chris went home to let the dogs out. Belle and I finished the plumbing there. And then when she came home, I could see it in her eyes something was a little bit off. Of course, we had, special stuff that the dog had left in different locations we have a kennel in the dining room temporary because we have a lab that's, it's a golden retriever and a English lab, so they call it a Goldador. That looks a lot like an English lab, so he's a neat dog. But I could have got upset, but she did. Chris took the 2 dogs out. Marla took care of business. And then when I got home, I finished the business that she didn't finish. But didn't get upset or mad. So on that part, I guess you could say I succeeded. But there's other areas that you can just say something. Maybe it's a little bit of out of tone or the way you said it that can fire up a person, guilty as charged. But when someone says, quit yelling at me, but you're really not yelling, it's just talking this like right now. It's just your tone and pitch, the way how they perceive it. So we gotta, I say we, but I gotta work on that. So yeah, sometimes a face expression is worth 1,000,000 words or whatever instead of a picture. So there's some truth to that. This is one of my favorite scripture verses here. Verses with an S. It's John 14 through 21. If ye ask anything in my name, I will do it. If ye love me and keep my commandments, and I will pray that the Father and he will give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. Even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him, but ye know him, for he dwelleth with you, and he shall be in you. I will not leave ye comfortless, I will come unto you. Yet a little while, and the world seeth me no more, but ye see me, because I live, ye shall live also. At that day ye shall know that I am the Father, and ye in me, and I in you. So the first part of the scripture, if ye shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. But, we got to do our part too. Faith without works is dead. If you just sit in that chair and don't do anything about it, probably not going to happen. So we need to work on that areas of ourselves on what basically every day, really. We can get this up to here. Because there was a movie, The Longest Mile or something like that. Well, that's the longest 18 inches or whatever it is. I mean, probably varies on some people, but I think that's the vague number. Then the last scripture, I have Colossians 3:23. And whatever ye do, do it heartily as the Lord and not unto men. So there's times the person in the red sweater will say that, and it kind of can rub you raw, but it's the truth. And just like out here, I didn't think nothing of it, but a certain person said the same verse scripture to me. And it wasn't the one I was just talking about. And I didn't even think nothing about that, but I thought it was kind of cool that the one person told me, and then another person at church said the same thing, nothing to do with the stuff out here. And like I said earlier, with Mary and the mustard seed, and then finding the mustard seed a couple of days before, and then talking to Doug, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about, the life's like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Well, if we live off the Word, and, the facts will say one thing, but the Word is the truth. It sounds simple, but it can be extremely difficult at times. And we have to strive and be better on what we do. And that is all I got to say. And I'm sticking with it. Can we improve each and every day? Oh, another thing, too. Just in your minds, as people in general, spouses, whatever, or anybody, think of 5 things that you can improve on. And then, if you're single, however, you can answer that. And then, your spouse, 5, not 5 things. You got 5. How many things can they say for you to improve on? I guarantee it's going to be way more than 5. It works both ways. Full circle, 360. Clockwise, counterclockwise. So, yeah, we need to do better each and every day, and we do strive to be better. There's some days you just lose it. Now, there's a guy at work. I always worked with gals, so that was just how it was, I guess. I don't know. But the one guy, if you said more than 2 sentences, you could see his eyes like glazing over and just like shutting down. He was kind of a yes, no, or direct answers. Well, the other guy that worked with him was just the opposite. So I says, well, this person, without saying his name, has a short fuse. You know, just boom, short fuse. And then the guy that was working with him, when I said that, he says, what fuse? So that really puts in perspective, just, you know, this is quick, but half of that's even quicker. So I guess we'll move forward. Mary's not here. Anybody need prayer?